Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Tuesday evening. It is 9 o'clock. Time for a Tuesday Blther. But first, as always, a little music. Enjoy.
We are all the heirs to Scotland, as a nation proudly stand. We will march beneath her banners to protect our ancient land. In the glens and cities, there on every street are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let our flag mean freedom and not a battle drum. To the world we bid a welcome in 1,000 different ways. We will toast to long lost friendships as we build our better days. In the glens and cities, there on every street are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let our flag mean freedom and not a battle drum. We are all the heroes of Scotland. We're a nation hand in hand. We will march beneath her banners to protect our ancient land. In the glens and cities, there on every street are the living heroes no army will defeat. Let our flag mean freedom and not a battle drum.
Good evening, folks. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you're all comfy. I'm sorry about the last minute setup. I thought I'd done this over the weekend, but obviously not. So sorry for that. So we have a bit of news from our friend, our great moderator friend, I was doing something else, to be honest, and just at the last minute there, I looked and saw that he had sent me an email. Steve Cray, in fact, I'm talking about. So, to stop any worry and concern, I have to let you know that for the moment, he's taking a break from YouTube. He's got a lot of stuff going on. Good evening, Streaky. He's got a lot of stuff going on in his private life. Pretty heavy duty stuff, let me say that. I don't think I'll be giving anything away if I say that part of that is selling and perhaps buying houses. So it's pretty strenuous stuff he's going through, apart from other things. So I can't say any more than that, except don't worry, he's taking a break. He has not given up. He will return when he is ready, when he's done what he needs to do. He'll be back. So, knowing what I'm like, you see, you obviously it would be advisable to let me know what was going on so that I wouldn't be concerned and I can pass that information on to all of you. Not quite, Streaky, not quite. She's so So anyway, that's the information. So don't be looking for him on other channels either. It's not just this channel he's taking a break from. He's taking a break from YouTube itself. So and I know he'll be back. I know he will be back. Right, Budgie, you'll have some idea of how that can just drag you down. I was forced out of 2 council houses in 8 years. Well, that's very stressful. Streaky. Streaky's giving out a warning here, and don't call it his house or place of work, you weirdos. No, he's fine. I mean, well, he's not fine. He's under a lot of stress with one thing and another. So, but he will return. It's just like I've been saying for long enough to all of you folk. You need to take a break from YouTube. It will pull you down and does pull everyone down. Well, that's right, William. I mean, it's bad enough at the best of times, but if nobody has the best of times when they're moving, it's just, as you say, it's a bloody nightmare. It is. It's a nightmare. William, I have a wee question for you while you're here, being uh, someone who does a lot more live streaming now than I do. I have up here in front of me on my monitor, up on the left hand side as I look at it, it says live viewers, then my name, and then the amount of people who are apparently watching the live stream. Do you know how I can get rid of that from the live, from the screen? I've never seen this before. So if you know how to get rid of it, William, please let me know. It's very distracting. Very distracting. I don't even know what the point of it is. Anyway, if you don't know how this is removed, then we're stuck with it until I figure it out. Anyway, zoom in the screen and adjust to see comments. You're probably right. You probably know way to get rid of the damn thing. It's just a pain in the butt. This is what I don't like about these companies. Is they start off, oh, there it's going. They start off with a setup, just like this place, StreamYard. Now, I chose this because it seemed to be straightforward and simple to operate. So that was why I chose to use this. And as time has passed, they've added this and they've added that and they've added this other thing. And most of what they've added has only made the operation of their software more complex. And I don't think it adds anything to what you get. But perhaps that's just me. I don't know. It's going anyway. I must have pressed in the right place in my panic. Panic. Don't panic. I was watching your Sabrel stream, Bart Sabrel. Very interesting. Very interesting, William. It's strange how it's never really caught on. I think I reached that similar conclusion myself, Budgie. They always change the format. I think it's to stop us being settled. They like chaos, yeah. Oh, it's very interesting, William. Absolutely. But I've always found it peculiar, really, that Here's a man trying to tell the world that the supposed biggest event in human history was simply a lie, and that would appear to be such a mountain to climb. I don't know how successful he's been. We'll never know that, really. Oh, there's Robert. Good evening, Robert. Well, I was one of them, William. I didn't want it to be a lie. I invested huge sums of time in my boyhood to reading about the solar system and the planets and the stars and all that rocket stuff. I spent an enormous amount of my time doing that, getting library books and reading up. And I used to be quite pleased with myself going around telling other folk, even adults who would listen to me, how all this, that one day we'd go to the moon and the planets, and this is how we would do it all. I took great delight in all of that. However, by the time they started the Apollo program, I was in the group and I was out every night, and I would only hear little snippets at 6 o'clock news on BBC as to what was going on. So I assumed in my hurried life as a teenager, I assumed that they had overcome the technical difficulties that I knew existed. I never followed it any further than that, you see. I just assumed that the radiation problem had been solved, that somehow they had overcome that difficulty. I mean, you can come on, William, and we can talk about it if you wish. Bart was the same. He said he cried when the penny dropped. I was born late 1980s, so it was not a big deal for me, I don't think. I don't know if I cried over it, but I certainly was traumatized because I stayed up. I went away to this friend of mine's house that night. It was due to land, and I went away down there. And it was quite a walk to get to his house from where I lived, or where my mother's house was. But I walked away down there late at night, and we stayed up and watched it on television. And I couldn't put into words, not properly, the excitement that I felt watching that, thinking we had done it. When I say we, I mean human beings. The greatest adventure that we had ever undertaken. And there I was watching it unfolding. It was heartbreaking when I discovered. But my discovery came through photography. Streaky. That's life, but oh, you're talking to William. Land just struck his fifth goal in 58 minutes versus Luton. Budgie. Most people are living in a fantasy world. So, you may as well believe in moon golf. Yeah, I watched all that stuff. It's probably quite wise there, Streaky. The older I get, the less I believe about world events. But the thing is, by the time I had gone to college to study photography, I had access to the college library, and in the department of photography, they had this vast collection of books, including the photographic books that NASA had printed and put out. And of course, that was the first time that I personally was able to sit and look at these photographs for any length of time. The only time we saw them, and I say we, I mean the public, was on the news. But it'd only be, 4-5 seconds. Streaky's asking me have you seen any of the CPAC right-wing conference currently on in US? No, I haven't, Streaky. Have you? No, I certainly haven't. Yeah, getting back to my little story. And then when I got the opportunity to sit and look at those photographs, beautiful 8x10, glossy black and whites. Very good, Butcher. I don't accept any mainstream narrative now. I don't come from a name and 6 million, etc. Likewise, Budgie. Likewise. Is that right? That's interesting. Special K. CPAC has never had lower attendance. That is interesting. So yeah, it's like I don't know if you've looked at these books yourself, folks, but when I saw them back in the 1970s in the college library for the first time, it's quite obvious that what Bart's talking about, the converging shadows and all this. It's quite clear in some of them. Not all of them, admittedly. Not all of them. But in enough of them, you see it. And that was a huge error. So I had that to look at for the first time. And I already knew about the radiation because of my childhood interest in what was going on with the USA and putting up rockets. I knew about the Dr. Van Allen and all of that stuff. And then, of course, eventually, when I got access to this YouTube and the internet, then I just found more and more and more. Robert, how could they have the neck to make that pretend phone call? It's very simple, Robert and everyone else. It is very simple. And because I belong to that generation, I can say that we all wanted it to be true. We all wanted it to be real. That includes me. That's why it worked. Nobody gave a thought. I never gave a thought of, well, there's a phone now. Hello there. How's it going there up in the moon? This is the president speaking. Nobody gave that a thought, including me. Of course, at that time I didn't have a telephone in the house, or should I say my mother didn't. Telephones in this country, anyway, for most working class people, uh, were not available. But with what I'd seen in the photographs, what I knew about the Van Allen radiation problem that he had discovered years before. Budgie and the operator said 40 cents more. Exactly. Exactly. But no, I think that's how it was accepted because we wanted it. My generation wanted it to be real. Never occurred to me for one instant that anyone would try and fake that. My gosh. Oh, there was lots of bizarre stuff. One of the things that I thought about when I saw it for the first time, or heard about it, I heard about it before I saw it, is when I heard they were taking a motor car, or a buggy as they called it, a moon buggy. They were taking a moon buggy up with them. I thought, how the hell are they going to do that? Where are they going to put it? Everything is down to the last half ounce. The weight problems. And of course, don't know what they did stateside, but over here, there was no television shots of the rocket, or if there were, I don't remember it. But if there were shots of the rocket, surely people must have asked themselves, where the hell is that buggy? And then the next thing we see is it's on the moon's surface, supposedly. How did it get there? Who unpacked it? Where was it stored? And all that. But again, my generation, by that time I had serious questions. But most people, even then, they wanted to believe it. They wanted it to be true. Balance problem. All sorts of difficulties, budgie. And the streaky sick, the flag fluttering was bizarre. So I think possibly, at my age, it's quite. Uh, it must be quite shocking for people my age who, in their boyhood or girlhood life, didn't follow the things that I followed. That helped eventually because I had followed the development of the rockets. And if I don't know if there's, apart from Treble M, I don't think there's anyone left on the channel anymore who will remember that I had somebody on here who is trying to prove that the world is not a globe. And part of that belief system takes into account that we never went to the moon. So I had him on here. And it was interesting. I don't think there's anybody left apart from Treble M. Only made of tin foil with pram wheels, not much weight. I've not heard that one, Streaky. They were going to film Neil Armstrong shaking hands with the man on the moon. But not even the Yanks would believe that. Good evening, Packer. Our friend Steve is not going to be with us for a while. He sent me a long email. I made the announcement at the beginning of the stream. There's nothing wrong. He's not giving up either on this channel or YouTube or our cause. But as you probably know, he's up to his neck in all sorts of heavy duty responsibilities that he's got to take care of. When you speed the film up, you can see them hopping about in real time. So you know, Packer, don't be getting yourself concerned. He's okay. He's just feeling a bit stressful at the moment. Oops. So anyway, I had this chap on, and we had a good exchange, and that's how I came to it, because he was doing what he was doing, and it takes into consideration, this business, did we actually go to the moon or not? Streaky. He'll be up to his neck in boiling water in a pot if he marries that African cannibal woman. Oh dear. So there you go. That's essentially my story of it all. I came to it partly through photography and partly through my childhood interest in the development of the rockets. And then when I came onto YouTube, that filled in some of the spaces that needed to be filled up. And it is difficult. It's very difficult, as I'm sure you realise, to accept that we never went there. But I don't see how they can let that lie go now. I think that's something that, like Bart Zabrel is trying to do. It's going to take something to burst the whole thing open. And if that ever does happen, I would agree with him that other things will fall along with it. Because there are so many other lies. I mean, you ask yourself this question, don't you? Well, at least I do. Well, if we never went to the moon, and we didn't, then where did all that money go? Where is all that money going that they get every year? I mean, that's an interesting question there. The old American taxpayer has been paying for NASA since when? Late 40s, middle 40s onward. Robert's asking, was JFK in it? I don't think he was. Well, I want to say, there I go again. I don't want to believe that he was in on it. I don't think he was in on it. I just don't see it. He didn't need to be in on it. That was the beauty of the way it was done. The way the lie was dealt with. I remember talking about this to a group of musicians that I used to meet with regularly before the Lorgie struck us all. And this man went really crazy over it because I said what I've just said to you, good people. He went bananas. And another fella who was sitting at the same table as us, one of the group, he was sitting with this very expensive wristwatch. Paid about £1,000 for this, so he did. And it was all made, tarted up as a souvenir watch of the moon landing. And there he is, sitting with this very expensive watch. And here's me sitting right next to him, tearing it all down. I wasn't very popular that day. But if that is the truth, and I believe it to be the truth, then What am I supposed to do? Go along with the lies? I don't think so. And to answer your question properly, Robert, I don't think a US president would actually need to be in on it. And that was the thing that I could not convince this group of men, was that you didn't need to have thousands of people involved in such a conspiracy. You only needed a few. There's Rory. You're saying, says Rory, sorry I'm late. John, just been watching Mark, Colette, and David Clues talking about the government's plans to allow abortion up until birth. Interesting conversation. Well, as you all know, they've already done it in the States. Dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. My party has got a big policy on this. And part of that policy is that abortions shouldn't be allowed to happen unless both the mother and the father agree in writing to it. As a man, as a human being, I object to the idea that a woman can make that decision all by herself. It usually does, by the way. However, if she chooses to keep the baby, allow the baby to live, in other words, the man then is expected to put his hand in his pocket for the next possibly up to 25 years. But he has no say if the woman wants to have the child murdered. Now, obviously, I don't agree with that. Because it takes two to make the baby. So it should take two to decide the baby's fate. It's like the old thing. Do we actually have the right to murder a baby in the womb? Does a woman have the right to make that decision on her own? This is something I've argued on and off most of my life. I think perhaps what should happen is that school pupils should witness what that procedure looks like. And if you saw what it looks like, perhaps you'd be less keen to allow it to happen. Because if you think about it, really, there really is no good reason why there should be any unwanted pregnancies. If that says Streaky, I fainted at the frog being cut open. But that's the point, isn't it? So long as it remains an abstraction, it's easier to deal with. I've said this before, but I expect I'm the only one that remembers it because it was me that said it. But years ago, I saw on YouTube a surgeon giving evidence to one of these grand jury things that they have over there. And this man, this doctor, not only did he sit there and give evidence, he had his medical bag with him. And he just plunked it up onto the table and began to lift out all these different tools that he uses or he used to use. He'd been doing this for about 13 years, this abortion thing. But over the 30 years, ground him down and he no longer did it. He'd quit. No, he didn't quit being a doctor, but he quit doing abortions. And he had all this material in front of him, all these different prongs and probes and things that look like giant pliers and what have you. I was quite shocked. Obviously, I've never seen anything like that. I've never been involved in anything like that, obviously. But I was quite shocked. And he was deliberately trying to shock these politicians and anyone who was watching this. And I've said often, anytime I've talked about this subject, I wish I'd kept it, the video, but I didn't. It's like a lot of things, Streaky. So long as it remains abstract, it's easier to deal with, like genocide. Thousands of children have been murdered. For us, that's an abstraction. So it's easier to deal with. I really wouldn't want to see 4,000 or 5,000 dead children lying in a heap. Not really. Especially not in real life. So as I say, the party has very detailed way to deal with this social dilemma. But simply to allow the murder of unborn children to go on the way it has gone on in the last, what is it now, 40, 50 years. I remember David Steele bringing this out. And at that time, I was a very young man, still interested in politics, of course. And I agreed with it. I thought it was a good thing. And in certain cases, I still think it is a good thing. But of course, like all of these laws that politicians bring in, it wasn't very long before it was being abused, stretched and twisted until it is what it is today. For some people, it's almost birth control, the way it's dealt with. It's terrible, horrible. If a nation, any nation, allows its unborn children to be murdered, what else is it capable of? Perhaps that's not quite the way I should put it. Perhaps the way I should put it is, what is a nation not capable of? Well, Budget, a lot of people faint getting tattoos, says Budget. And he's right. When I was a daft boy, 16, not even 16, I got that put on. It's meant to be a dragon. And I can tell you, all of you, that the minute the needle hit my skin, I went instantly, I sobered up. Instantly, I sobered up. And had I had the good sense, I would have stopped the man at that point. But by the time I had enough coherent thought in my mind, he had already made lines up my skin. And so I had no choice but to let the man finish his work. Otherwise, it would have been worse. Just these squiggle lines on my arm. Now, I've regretted that my entire life, having that done. That's one of the many reasons you'll never see me wearing a short sleeve shirt. It doesn't matter the weather, you will not see me wearing short sleeve shirt or anything with short sleeves. So on plenty of occasions, social occasions, when it would be very nice to be able to even just roll my sleeves up to remain cool. I don't do it because I'm ashamed of this tattoo that I lumbered myself with. Now, not everybody feels that way about them. It's just how I feel about them. But I've been lugging this one around for 70 odd years now. But the abortion thing needs to be re examined. Good evening, Toffee. But I had a mate who fainted, but it was the pre tattoo lotion. Oh, is that what they do now? Huh? Never did that when I went. That made him faint before he even saw the needle. I'm laughing, but it's not funny. Not really. And then somebody, many years later, somebody started talking about, why do you have it removed, John? But when I looked into that, that was worse than having it there, than trying to get it removed. So the answer that I have, and I've held all my life, is I just always wear garments with full length sleeves, and I never show my arms. That's the price I paid for my stupidity, or what I regard as my stupidity. Other people feel quite differently about these things, and that's entirely up to them. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't try and make it illegal or anything like that. That would be silly. So there you go, folks. But when it comes to this abortion, I think our society needs to have a long second look at this. Because the thing is, these decisions, these political decisions were made in an era where the science wasn't exact enough to be able to pin down exactly when life took place. But nowadays, the science is a lot more exacting. And I've never personally accepted the argument of that some women make. It's my body, so I can do what I want. Well, actually, it's not, because they're not doing anything to their body. They're doing something to someone else's body. Well, that's probably a bit more accurate language, Budgie, that you're using. Naivety. Yes, I was very naive. Treble M saying I had a son, was born at 26 weeks gestation. Oh, stay away from it, Special K. Don't get yourself tattooed. I know too many people who have regretted it. Not just myself, but plenty of people. And the worst of all, of course, is those who get names put on. That is huge error. I'm not talking about mum or dad. I'm talking about girlfriends and boyfriends. Or that's a horrendous error to make. That. Well, Triple M, I'm all for tightening up all of these laws regarding the abortion. Well, of course it did. However, I never let women forget that. I was assaulted verbally in a store one day by a woman about wearing a mask when I didn't have one. And I threw that right back at her. Never had a tattoo, never wanted one, says William. Sensible lad. Hate anything hate anything that is a needle or needle like. Sensible William. Plus the thought of ink in my body is sickening. That's true, William. It is. Dorothy. I've heard you've got a portrait of Senso. Face smoking a ciggy tattooed across your stomach. I suppose I'll need to bear my. I've got my own name on my own arm in case I forget it, says Robert. I have seen some beautiful artwork. That's what I'm saying. That I've only regretted it ever for me, right? That's for me. I've regretted it. I know I went there when I shouldn't have went there. I was drunk, half drunk on cheap wine. I wasn't making proper decisions. I wasn't thinking properly. But there again, I went and did it. And, and I've got no one to blame but myself. But I have seen other people. I seen a man in Spain once, He was in and out of the pool all afternoon. Well, that's right, Budgie. You're absolutely right. And I right all over his back, his whole back, and he was a big man, you know. Obviously, did weightlifting. Uh, this Native American portrait with the feathers and all that. It was absolutely gorgeous, this work. Yeah, so his whole back. But as I say, I've seen a few works of art on people's skin, but I've never seen it that way. And had I gone to that place sober, I wouldn't have done it. But I'm not blaming the alcohol. I'm blaming me. It was me that made the decision. What can you say? I always thought, since that was put on to me, I have always held the line to other people. Don't get one put on. Anytime I hear anyone talk about it, don't do it. And you'll never budge me from that position. Just don't do it. Don't get it done. Very good, Streaky. Toffee fainted when writing a phone number in biro in his hand. So, no, and never allow yourself to be talked into it either. I'm sure you're all wiser than I was. Well, that's why you shouldn't get names put on, William. My late father had King Billy on his horse, on his arm, and his first wife name, which never impressed the second. I'm sure it didn't. Rory Herbert is asking, Toffee, I've never slept with a tattooed woman. How about you? Absolutely, Robert. That's the way to be. Streaky. I would have got the second wife to change her name to match my arm. Oh, tell you. That's what you call an answer to a problem. I don't think that they're as popular today for men as they were for my generation. I could be wrong about that. I think it's turned the other way now. It seems to be women. Don't like that either. Don't like it one bit. Women don't age well at the best of times, normally. But they have tattoos. I saw a, I saw a terrible tattoo. And I hate to say it, it was Mark Collette's woman. I don't know if that's the woman he's married to, but this girlfriend he had at the time had, was it this breast or that? I can't remember. On one of her breasts, she had this huge swastika tattooed. How crazy is that? Robert, women with whole legs covered in wee shorts. Yeah, not the game. So you've seen it. Yeah, that was a severe swastika on her very long neck. Toffee. I think Toffee's got the answer here, folks. Absolutely. Avoid women with tattoos. One leg covered in tattoos like a sleeve. Butchie. It's like an old girlfriend from years ago, and it will be held against him. That's for sure. That's absolutely for sure, Butchie. Yeah, I wouldn't say she was anything but a pretty young woman. She was. Streaky saying she was a pretty young. She was. She was a pretty lady actually, but that tattoo on her neck was too much. Well, it's just generally, Rory, it's seen as an abuse. Why abuse the body that was given to you by God? It's just generally not seen in that way. It's seen as an adornment, generally. But I take your point. Obviously, if I could go back to that moment in that shop and have it push magically removed, I would. I can't. I'm just hoping that if I get to be in any part of paradise, that it won't be there. That's what I'm hoping for. I don't know. Uh, Robert. Youthful ignorance or denial. That's probably covers a lot of it, Robert. I think most people, men in my generation, definitely went under the influence of drink and pumped on by their mates. I know I was. I don't blame them. Nobody forced me. Let's hope not. Let's hope not, Robert. Hopefully it won't be a salvation issue. I hope not. I shouldn't think so. I say that because I've got one. Anyway, a terrible thing, tattoos. So, I keep trying to get onto the subject of genocide. When will it stop? Who will stop it? It's just a living horror. I know, Podgy, I know you're right. I know that. There's lots of videos of beautiful girls who go to uni. 2 years later, they have green hair, tattoos, and face metal. I know. It's tragic. It's tragic. Lots of what happens, of course, to the face can be repaired simply by removing it. The skin will heal itself if allowed to. And the colouring of the hair is easily dealt with. The bigger problem, of course, is what happens to the inside of the brain, what's going on in the brain. That's the biggest problem. And the only way that can get changed is if we outlaw some of these courses and some of these ludicrous degrees that are given out now. But you need power for that. It must be a real shocker to mums and dads as they watch their youngsters slowly changing over the period. I know if it was my son or daughter, I would be horrified. to watch that kind of change go on. But again, that's partly peer pressure as well. It's not just them changing on their own, it's usually peer pressure. Go to the students' lounge, the bar, they're surrounded by it. And at that age, if you're a youngster, it's a huge pressure to try and resist. And lots of them actually do resist. I met quite a few when I was there. Pretty young girls who weren't like that at all. Part of that depends on the courses that you're studying, because that will dictate the kind of person you're likely to mix with socially, going from class to class, going for a pint of beer. So there's quite a lot of young girls who don't do it. I think the whole likelihood for the colleges that were upgraded to universities, these institutions have a lot of lecturers who definitely came from trade union backgrounds, who became, through their own hard work, full-blown commies, and use the position to talk about it. You both have got a point. Streaky. F off, Grandad. Leave us kids alone to enjoy ourselves. That's a valid thing to say. I want to be accepted is equally valid from Budgie. And I'm sure we've all, in our own time, I know I have, had taken both of those positions at one time or another. No doubt about it. It's part of the stuff that you go through as you come up through your teenage years and head into your early 20s. I'm quite glad I never went to university as a teenager. I would never have got through. And there is that. Go with the herd, says Budgie. And I used to say that to my big pal Jerry. If I had gone to university as a teenager, I would never have got through. I would never have graduated. I'd be too busy chasing the woman. Robert, rebellion to conform. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to be a rebel like everybody else in the class. streaky. Yeah, let the kids rebel and do crazy stuff before the misery and failure of life breaks their stupid optimism. Rebellion to conform, says Robert. Oh, that's Doberman. Soup shaggers have been preparing my back garden for much crops. Catties, he says. So yeah. But I think that has swung. I think it's swung on to there are more women nowadays with tattoos than men with tattoos. I did it once, I'd never do it again. Simple as. And I have done nothing but talk against it. Just joined, says the ultra nationalist. Just joined tribe. House tricks. Well, I was talking about abortion, and I've tried to talk about genocide. And one, if there's any positive you could take from this, is that Jews could no longer consider themselves to be exceptional. There can no longer be a special relationship that they have claimed exists between them and God. My favourite subject, says Das Doberman. Whose genocide? The one that's going on at the moment. Israelis genociding Palestinians. You really think so, would you? Well, that's my point, Streaky. The world can see exactly what they're doing. They can no longer claim to be the victim, the eternal victim, or have any special relationship with God. Rory's asking me, did you see this video from a Dublin mother talking to people in Mayo about what her life is like in Dublin? It's only 2 minutes long. Link to follow. No, I haven't seen it. Whoops. There's the link. Can't seem able to copy it. That's it. Doesn't seem to let me copy it, Rory. Doberman. Palestinians, I don't care. Jews, I don't care. Scotland, I care. I can't be that harsh myself, to be honest. Although I can't do anything about what's going on. If I could, I would, but I can't. Yeah, I heard something about that, Streaky. Did you see the donation? I don't know how much money it was. Was it our money, of course? Humza made to a Palestinian charity just before his wife's family fled from there. Is that public money he was using, Streaky? Or did it come from his own bank book? These people are very good at using public funds. Well, that sounds about right, Streaky. 750,000. Well, it won't be his money. Toffee. Europeans, I care. I feel like a lost cause. I am a sleeper cell, says ultra nationalist. Any ideas to further our cause? That's the big question. How do we further our cause? I spent a lot of time on that question. Ultra nationalist. Believe it or not, I do. However, how do you get people to waking up to what's going on around them so that they will stop putting into government people who despise them and who do everything to make their position worse? Events will happen. I think, to be honest with you, it's ultra. And I think I said this before. I think I said this last week. And we don't have much longer to wait and find out if I'm right. Well, I think if George Galloway gets voted in, and I assume he is going to win, I think he's going to give lots of other people confidence to stand as independents, and for smaller parties like my own to put up candidates. I think there is hope in that direction. Streaky. Filthy Hamza used to work for the so-called charity Islamic Relief. That's interesting to know. Didn't know that. Don't know anything about him. DJ's got the SNP well covered, as far as I'm concerned. He keeps a close eye on them all. It just won't let me press on it, Rory. I don't know how to get around that. Just don't know how to do that. No, I don't know how to. No. A very low opinion of George Galloway being expressed here. Galloway is a toe rag. He courted the Catholic vote in Scotland and the Mus vote in England. He's an Irish Bolshevik. Bobak, says Doberman. Budgie says Fidel Galloway might be our saviour. Well, what I'm saying is if he wins, he'll prove to those who need to be shown that independent candidates can win. Robert is telling us Hamza's been in with the Muslim Brotherhood since the Salmon days. I believe you, Robert. I believe you. And that's also very true, Streaky. Our nation is riddled with these illegitimates that hate us. You're so correct. And the sex cat impersonator as well. I don't get it, Ultra. I don't get why there aren't more people. Don't see it. I can assure you, I found it very frustrating when I was out canvassing at the local election. And what made it really frustrating was that every point I brought up, people would agree with me, said I was right. Now, they were either just, you know, taking me along for the ride, or they were really genuine. But if they were really genuine, you wonder then why don't people like yourselves get more votes, get more support? I don't get it. No, well, this would be easier to discuss if we were in the same room. Ultra saying we can't vote our way out of tyranny, but I don't quite agree with that view. That's a very stark way of putting it. How do you vote your way out of tyranny? Well, what you do is you get enough people to vote enough of us in, and then when you get in, you change the rules to suit not the tyrannical, but to suit us, which is what our enemies do. We just can't get people in, enough of our people in, to get to that position when we can employ that tactic. George Galloway is a very nasty man, says Budgie. He is very cold and single-minded, hardcore commie. Now, I'm not going to disagree with any of that. I'm not, because that's not the important point for me. Doberman's saying, you can only fight your way out of tyranny No, vote John, or else it's no a tyranny. Well, okay, I see the point. I get the point. In a proper tyranny, you wouldn't even be allowed to have a vote, and therefore you would have to take arms against a sea of trouble, and by opposing it, end it, to quote Mr. Shakespeare. So, in that sense, you're right. Yes, you're right, but we're not there yet. I'll try and find it. I'll try and track it down. Streaky. History tells us we can't vote our way out of tyranny. Our solution is physical, not political, brother, says the ultra nationalist. Your approach to the problem has several difficulties that bother me, and they always have bothered me. And what bothers me is once you initiate violence, it becomes almost impossible to stop it. It's almost impossible to control it, to focus it at the right place. If you're going to use an example, a historical example, you could say, look what happened in Russia. Once the violence had started, millions died within a very short period of time. Millions. And our little country doesn't have millions to spare. You can't compare it to the likes of the Irish situation, I don't think. As bad as Scotland has been in the last couple of 100 years or so, we've never been as bad as it's been in Ireland. So our people have never been pushed that far. And people need to be pushed incredibly far before they will turn and consider violence as an option. I don't think Scotland has been pushed that far, or Britain for that matter. I've got 2 kids and I'm ready to bust, man. I stand with Indigenous Scottish people. I'm ready to fade away. We all feel like that. I don't feel like that all the time, but I do feel like that from time to time. And just like Budgie said just before your comment, Ultra, I feel this as well. Please let me be the new tyrant. I promise you, 1 year is all it will take to feel at home. You've got to mind we are a violent nation, says Doberan. Well, my street anyway got a few. It's like a village, lads. Are the lads. I'd be an awesome Führer, says Doberman. Benevolent, humble, and modest. So obviously, I see things quite different. And don't forget that being my age doesn't actually help. It just means that the frustrations that you all feel all the time, or most of the time, I have also felt, but for a longer period because I've lived longer. That's all. And in those days before the internet, which was most of my life, there wasn't any internet. The isolation was just awful. And it's taken the internet for me to be able to sit here and speak to you all, and for you to speak to me. Before that, I had no one to speak to. No one shared my politics. Had to be very careful what you said, or your friends would just drop you like a hot potato. But things are a bit different now. The internet has changed all that. I can't speak to people. That doesn't mean you say they listen or act in what I do or say. But at least I've got that opportunity that I never had before. Good evening, Linda. All those years of isolation, political isolation, I wouldn't have known how to start, wrong, a party. But there it is. I have been told that nationalist, ultra nationalist. I have been told that many times in my life. I don't belong in this future world, that I belong in the past somewhere. But I don't think that's really the proper way to look at it. And I don't look at it that way now for myself either. I think what's wrong is that we don't belong in this dystopian future that has been crafted together purposely to make all of us feel like you feel, that we don't belong, that there's something not quite right. And we know all this. And it's just like we all know, intuitively, we know all of this. That if we can get a hold of power, we could change it very quickly. We might have to spill some blood, but not a lot. But we could and would change it for the better in next to no time. We know that. That's what adds to our frustration. It's what adds to mine. And I'm sure you're all the same. It's why we don't feel as though we belong here. And that only makes us worse. It really does. And the only answer I've got for that, and it's the one I use myself, because it is the only answer I've got. I keep my focus of attention on how I, given the chance, could fix the problems. And until such times that opportunity were to arrive, I will go on doing my best in this dystopian world that I'm in. Oh, the haggis are calling me. Thanks, Rory. I think the answer, says ultra nationalist, is to doorstep politicians for ruining our lives. Let's doorstep. I once managed it, to be honest with you. I did. A couple of years back, good few years back. The door went, and it was local election time, and it was a Labour young man, and I asked him to come in, and foolishly he came in. And I sat him in a position in the house, in the room, that was difficult for him to get up and leave. And then I rattled into him. It was a great feeling. And there's a good piece of advice here. The answer is to enjoy the time you have left and help mend a lot of them. Yeah, that's the other thing that you can do, which is, again, what I try and do myself. I started the party. I do my best to make it grow. I try my best to enjoy other times when I'm not doing that. And find ways that I can engage with people I don't know and find out if they are interested in my political views and trying to encourage them to join. That's what I do. And I take what's left of my life and squeeze as much joy from it as I can. Not easy. It's not easy. Especially when things are going on that shouldn't be going on. And we're left with a sense of helplessness, hopelessness, even. Because our impulse, I know my impulse is I want to sort that. We need to sort that. That shouldn't be happening. That's wrong. Agreeing. Who is going to argue with this? No one is going to argue with you. We need to unite as a tribe people. Look at Muslims. They are slowly replacing us. We need to unite in the UK and Western world. Correct. I'm busy reading this. Mr. Rodney Johnson. Hey, Joe, and I heard you on Unity News Network a while ago. Gosh, that is a while ago. It is a while ago, but thanks for coming here. I'm actually getting ready to wind up, but you're most welcome to be here. Budgie is saying, ultra nationalist. In Aberdeen, a doorstep is the thick outside slice of a loaf of bread. Yeah, that's right. You're right, of course, Budgie. So, yes, doorstep them. I forgot about that doorstep. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. No, I am doing my best to unite people. We don't have to agree on everything. We don't. But the big things we do agree on. As I said not so long ago, if my party had the same amount of members as Woodlanders Initiative has, we would be one of the biggest political parties in Great Britain. Believe it or not. Yeah, I think it was, to be honest. Shall I call you Rodney or Mr. Rodney? I love your show streams. Oh, thank you. Was it back in the scandemic? I think it was back then. Oh, they're silly. How you doing there, my friend? Of course it can. That's what I'm trying to get over. That it's very difficult to try and grab people. It's very isolating at times, John. Yes, it is. There are few people of our persuasion. If it's a crime, well, if it's a crime to honour heritage, our people, and to consider ourselves trustees, then I suppose we are guilty as charged. Yes, I agree. That's all we do. We don't own this land. We're the caretakers. We need to be in a position to pass it on to the next generation as it was passed on to us. Can we agree? Hymns are shit. Well, we do, Ultra. We do call them outsiders. We also used to call them door. Well, in my family, my granny was alive. They would say that, so you want the doorstep. Budgie, call him Mr. Robinson, Mr. Johnson. Well, okay, I don't mind. I don't mind, Mr. Johnson. It is. Well, I hope Mr. Johnston stays with us, becomes a regular, becomes a subscriber. Now, anybody can join the party. Anyone can help build the party. I can't do it all myself, especially now when I don't have 100% of my health anymore. Well, again, who's going to disagree with you, nationalist? Scottish people need to stand together, unite before any foreigners. Alma, we need to team up Scotland for the Scottish. Absolutely, of course. We have over 500 black Africans in this town now. And as I keep asking people, which part of Greenock do you think they belong to? Where were they brought up? They don't say anything in reply, of course, but I can hear their minds ticking. frightened to say. Paisley, Black Dog. Anyway, folks, it's way past time to wrap this stream up. Thank for all the newer folk, Mr. Johnson. Please do subscribe. I am told it helps the channel. And I'll bring on the outro music. I'll be back on Friday, folks. I no longer have the energy for 3 appearances a week. If I can keep doing the 2, that would be really good. I wish I could do the 3, but I don't have the energy anymore. So please think on what I've said. If you want to join the party, there's plenty of ways you can help. Good evening, Bass. You're coming in and we're leaving. Never mind. So think about it. Think about what you can do. I've got plenty of ideas that might work, and we can only try them. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you all. And as I always say at this time, adios, au revoir, cheerio, and until Friday evening, goodbye for now. Now take care of yourself. If you get a bit of decent weather, get away from the computer screen. Go for a walk or whatever. Sit around the back of your house if you can. Do something other than have yourself fixed to the internet. You need time away from it, just like our Steve is doing. Okay? And I shall see you all with a bit of luck and Friday night. And I want to thank you all for being here tonight. And ask the you folk to subscribe to the channel, which would be great. But in the meanwhile, enjoy the music.
Silently the snow falls, paints a winter scene, swiftly spreads the dark rim, hides the fading autumn green. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, conjure friendships dear to me. Lightly now the breeze flows, disturbing more than just the leaves. But life's much more than we can know. We are one small glow in the eternal flow. Patiently the love grows, lifts the weary heart. Gently now she holds me, melts two worlds once apart. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, usher dreams of you and me. Softly then the breeze blows, disturbing more than just the trees. But love's much more than we can know. We are one small globe in the eternal flow. Melodies of long ago, songs of innocence, harmonies to soothe the soul, past of consequence. Moonbeams brush the dark wood, awakening joys of you and me. Silently the snow falls, bringing winter symphony.
All together now.
But we're much more,
So much more
than we can know.
than we can ever possibly know.
We are one small globe,
But a very important globe
in the eternal flow. But life's much more than we can know. We are one small globe in the eternal flow.
Y'all take care now. I don't know how long Steve's going to be off, but I told him to take his time, get well. We'll be here. And we'll see him soon. So enjoy the rest of your week, folks, and I'll speak to you real soon. Take care. Again, thanks for being here.